Keek on the mic, keek on the mic. Keek on the mic, keek on the mic. People, this the intro. Sacramento, California, born and raised. And Antelope is where I spend most of my days. You talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Like always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. So, I have a very fun report for you guys today, as the report out of Chicago is this: Justin Fields claps back at people claiming he will struggle in 2022. And Bears fans, Justin Fields isn't dumb. He hears all the chirping going on from the media, and he knows that most people think that he will struggle in 2022. He's been hearing people predicting that he will throw the most interceptions or throw the least amount of touchdowns. He hears everything. And the good news for us Bears fans is that we all know that Justin Fields is very strong-minded. And when the media asked him about the criticisms, he shrugged them off. He uses it as fuel, right? He's very strong-minded. He likes to hear it, right? Obviously, he blocks it out. He just remains on his grind. But for the most part, he's strong-minded, and he just shrugs them off. And during a recent press conference, he explained that in his mind, the ultimate goal was never to post great stats. He wants to win. This is what he had to say in his press conference yesterday. I'm not really worried about showing the league anything. I'm just worried about winning games. I'm not trying to prove myself to anybody. I'm not trying to do this and that, take opinions into account. My job is to win games and, of course, make the playoffs. So I'm not worried about anything. He also added this: I'm going to work until we get that Super Bowl trophy. As long as I'm here, I'm going to work to help us win games and help us get better each and every day. Failure pushes me to go harder. So obviously the second quote that he said in his press conference that I just read to you guys here on the podcast was after the media asked him how it felt to basically fail, to experience failure after he was so dominant in college. And that was his response: failure pushes me to go harder. And obviously looking just at that comment alone, when you look at Fields, he showed glimpses last season of how to deal with adversity and failure, right? So when you look at a couple of examples of Justin Fields last season, he had that disaster game against Cleveland, and then he followed that with the deep ball showcase against the Detroit Lions. And then another good example of Justin Fields showcasing dealing with adversity and failure was him struggling really bad against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but then bouncing back with a huge performance against the San Francisco 49ers. So Justin Fields is absolutely right. Failure pushes him to go harder, and Fields proved that he can handle adversity, and now it's just about limiting those mistakes, right? Something that we've talked about a lot here on Keek on the Mic, just trying to improve every single day, trying to get better, and you can obviously tell that Justin Fields isn't worried about what the critics have to say. He is definitely zoned in of trying to become a great quarterback for the Chicago Bears. And obviously, we say this all the time, Justin Fields is motivated more than ever. And even though he says that the criticism, right, doesn't really bother him, it is definitely going to fuel him to be better. You know, obviously, in everyday life, there may be haters, right, telling you, oh, you can't do this. Oh, you're not going to be able to do this. Are you going to sit there and crumble? Are you going to let that destroy you? Or are you going to take that as fuel and push yourself even harder? I'm pretty sure Justin Fields hears everything. And of course he wants to shrug them off, saying, okay, it's not going to bother me much. But of course he's going to put it in his back pocket and say, okay, I'm going to prove you guys wrong. And that's all Justin Fields has to do, is go out there and prove these naysayers wrong. And trust me, they will definitely shut up. So not only is Fields motivated, but he's actually getting more help this season. And this kind of goes along with all the smack talking and all the criticism that not only Justin Fields has been getting, but the Chicago Bears as a whole have been getting going into this new season. And we all obviously know about the new offense that will cater to his skill set, right? That's going to help Justin Fields improve, right? And then you consider the offensive line. And even though there's a lot of criticism about how bad the Chicago Bears offensive line is, on paper, the offensive line is actually starting to come together. And I feel like Ryan Poles is doing a very good job. For example, that changed in 24 hours when Ryan Poles added 2 credible starters in right guard Michael Schofield and left tackle Riley Reef. And don't get me wrong, these guys are not stars, but these guys are reliable starters that have played in their positions for years and have that credible starting experience, right? And this instantly upgrades this offensive line to give Justin Fields times. And that's what it's all about. Even Jason Peters came out in a recent interview and said, as long as you give Justin Fields time, this kid is going to be special. But in regards to the offensive line, that's for any quarterback. If you give the quarterback enough time, they are going to shred NFL defenses. That's just the nature of the game. It's all about the front 5 giving the quarterback time. So obviously, kudos to Ryan Poles getting Michael Schofield and Riley Reef in here. Obviously, they're trying to get up to speed, but these 2 guys make the offensive line better. And if these 2 guys make the offensive line that much better and give Justin Fields enough time to throw the football, oh man, I'm super excited to see what Justin Fields does with an actually decent offensive line in front of him. And lastly, you look at his weapons. And obviously, I understand it isn't elite, but the hate of the Bears' weapons seems like a little bit much to me, right? Obviously, you look at Darnell Mooney. He's a 1,000-yard receiver, right? Then you look at tight end Cole Kmet. He has the opportunity in this new offense to have a big season. And, of course, running backs David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert are a really good, solid running back duo. And then you can even add Velus Jones Jr., Byron Pringle, and N'Keal Harry. And these guys will have the opportunity to make big impacts in different ways, especially in this new scheme that Luke Getsy is bringing to Chicago. So when you kind of take all these factors, right, I truly feel that this Bears roster isn't all bad, right? And I feel like Justin Fields should be able to play much better with this group in 2022. And most of you guys may disagree with me there, but this really does tie into allowing Justin Fields to shut those critics up, right? And it's not going to be all on him. Obviously, he has to take the step forward, right, and improve himself and get better on certain things that he needs to improve on. But it's not all on Justin Fields. And slowly this offseason, it seems like the roster that Ryan Poles is putting together for Justin Fields is starting to come together. And don't get me wrong, Ryan Poles is not done whatsoever with this roster and building around Justin Fields. But slowly, the offensive line looks better on paper. Even though the weapons are not elite, right? In this new offense, I'm optimistic that they will be able to put something together, right? And it goes back to the offensive line. If the offensive line can block for Justin Fields, obviously it gives his weapons more time to get open, right? It gives Justin Fields more time to get the ball to his new weapons. And I feel like everything may actually come together. So just like I said, Justin Fields will have every opportunity to improve this season with this new offensive group in 2022. And overall, Fields just needs to show some improvement this year. Give us Bears fans something excited to look forward to. Obviously, we all consider this year maybe just more of like a development year for this offense. Obviously, 2023 is where the money comes and where we'll really start adding to the roster. But if Justin Fields can just come out and just play, right? Just do your thing. No pressure. Just go out there and play your game and have fun with it and prove those critics wrong, right? And we just want Justin Fields to show some type of improvement, just like Ryan Poles, right? We want to see him process the game better, limit the mistakes, and create more big plays. Get comfortable in this new offense, and most importantly, protect yourself. For example, there may be some times where the offensive line does break down. Protection does break down. Throw the ball away. Live another day. Slide. Don't take those big hits, right? Protect yourself. Do the little things to help yourself improve this year. And I'm super excited to see what Justin Fields does this year in year 2. And my message to Justin Fields is very simple. And the reason why I went over all those things, like the offensive line, his weapons, right, the new scheme, because the critics have been talking mess about all those things for the Chicago Bears. Not just Justin Fields. They have been bashing the Bears all offseason long as a whole, right? So that's why I brought those little things up, because I feel like the offensive line is much improved. Even though the weapons don't look elite on paper, I feel like under this new offense, right, I think they can make some big impact plays. I feel like there are going to be a lot of opportunities for a lot of these guys in this new offense. And then, of course, look at the Luke Getsy offense, right? The scheme that he's bringing over, that wide zone, Shanahan-style offense, I think is going to help Justin Fields improve and put up some big numbers in a huge way. So, Justin Fields, let the critics keep talking, right? Use that as fuel, and once you have a big season, trust me, they will shut up. And I have no doubt in my mind that Justin Fields should have every opportunity to have a big year. So it's always good that he is shrugging the criticism off, right? You don't want to let it eat you alive, but use that as fuel. Put that in your back pocket. Keep working hard, and trust me, once you have a big year, they will shut up. So I'm super excited to see what Justin Fields does in year 2 as the Chicago Bears starting quarterback. Before I let you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Geek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, I'll be back for an all-new Bears podcast right here on Geek on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
Riding with Country Bear. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Geek on the Mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't Geek on the Mic. You can go and subscribe, cause I